The same methods that gave him massive streaming debuts in the past with bad albums like For All the Dogs and CLB, these same old games did not work here. And now when it comes to just how bad this has all gotten for Drake, I don't even need to try and explain how serious this downfall is, sentiment to the quality of that project. And in addition to this, when you understand that GNX is a 12-track album, which meant that it overall gained less streams than albums that are much longer than it, and of course, in this entire era of streaming, rappers and artists like Drake aren't artists anymore in terms of who is moving things forward. But even if Drake doesn't want to realize this, as between the support this record got and the numbers it's doing, which overall is showing that Drake has failed and he's not being blocked and suppressed by the industry, his entire case with his label and what he is trying to prove there never looks worse as well, because Drake's numbers have not fallen.
What's going on, YouTube? What's going on? We're back with another banger. Yes, sir. In today's video, we got why Drake is crashing out over his first week of sales numbers. That being said, if you're new here, don't forget that big red subscribe button and that like button. We're trying to hit 200 subscribers by the end of February. Now, today is February 21st, and at the time of this recording, we're at 161 subscribers. Gang, we're 39 subscribers away from hitting our 200 subscriber goal by the end of February. I know we can do it. Smash that subscribe button and join the family. It'd be much appreciated so we can hit this goal and take 2025 to a whole nother level this year. Feel me? That being said, let's see what Fantastic Hip Hop has to say about Drake. Y'all know he does not fuck with Drake. So that being said, let's get it.
To Drake. After everything that has been going on with SSS,
Drake,
we have finally gotten sales projections for how this thing is doing, and with what we have seen, Drake is projected to put up one of the worst weeks of his entire career by far. And now what is clear from this is that both when it comes to Drake's status as a top rapper and star, his spot is gone there, because he isn't just getting outperformed by Kendrick Lamar now, but also so many other rappers as well. But also when it comes to the case that Drake is trying to claim about him being sabotaged by the entire industry and his label, that Drake is also straight up lying about that, which overall has made every single thing for Drake never look worse. And now before we go any further into this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And just as I have said in my past few videos, the Drake fans are still mad at me for telling the truth, and it's only getting worse, so please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton, and it is really more needed than ever.
Yep, so helps us out too, gang. Come on now, we're trying to hit that goal.
We have finally gotten those first week projections for this 21-song mess he released with Party Next Door, and what this album is expected to put up is 250,000 copies moved in its first week, which in that 28,000 are from pure copies. Which, before we go any further into this, keep in mind that GNX just did 247,000 months after its release this week. While these opening numbers may not seem the worst for other artists, and if we compare them to Drake's, honestly never.
You're telling me that this nigga, Kendrick's album, is still making $500,000? Still on month's end? Now, don't get me wrong. Yeah, making $500,000 is chilling. Drake made $500,000. But, I mean, this nigga's probably used to making $500,000 or, nigga, $1 million off of his albums. You feel me? So, yeah, getting $250K is probably like, what the fuck is going on? I'm missing $750,000 here. What's going on? You feel me? So, I understand.
For Mind album, they are actually better. When you just understand how the streaming models work and how these numbers can become very misleading quickly as artists like Drake try to play this game and give themselves the best numbers possible, you'll clearly see that with the truth these numbers hold, they are terrible and the worst Drake has ever had, as all in all.
You know, most drivers don't know that they can buy out their lease because it's not really talked about, right? It's not really talked about at the dealership.
They are clearly indicating that Drake has lost more than we could have ever expected from this beef, and even with the same methods that gave him massive streaming debuts in the past with bad albums like For All the Dogs and CLB, these same old games did not work here. And now when it comes to just how bad this has all gotten for Drake, I don't even need to try and explain how serious this downfall is at this point, because none other than Big Ac put it into perspective for us of how much of a flop this thing is for Drake, as he went on a massive rant where he was trying to cope with the fact that even with an entire new album, Drake has continued to lose because things are still getting a lot worse for them. And now what Ac did that embarrassed everybody was trying to cope with these numbers in some of the most ridiculous ways possible, like saying the performance of collab albums always meet in the middle of the respective artist's popularity, which in of itself, explaining numbers and really trying to justify them is something that he has never done. And overall with this claim he is making, it is an absolute lie, and even with Drake himself, this rule he is trying to apply here was not true when Drake made albums with people like Future and 21 Savage, as those records put up massive numbers, so what's the difference here? Of course, other than the fact that Drake just did not deliver a musical experience that was worthwhile to the people. And now between this ridiculous rule Ak is trying to make, and him admitting that he was hiding releasing the early projections before this, which were around 175,000, along with so many other pathetic and desperate posts, I mean, when you see the ridiculous things that Ak has tried to do to explain how this is somehow a victory for Drake, I mean, winners don't have to explain themselves this much, and neither do people who are not trying to change the perception of...
Exactly like you said, winners don't have to explain themselves at all. Really, winners don't really have to explain themselves. Do you see Kendrick explaining himself at all? No, you see this nigga dropping more and more and more and more and more music every time. You feel me? He's not explaining himself. Fucking Drake is non-stop explaining himself in music. This nigga's trying to sue people. It's just not looking good for you, champ. You just keep going further and further and further down in the hole, bro. Y'all know we're now updated with fantastic hip hop. Every time he drops, we drop it now. You feel me? Like, we're now updated with his channel. We were a couple videos behind, but now we're right there. You feel me? So now we can finally listen to Drake's single and his album on our other channel. You feel me? To finally see what everybody's talking about and how bad this album and single flopped. You feel me? So I can't wait to listen to this after this reaction video that I've done now. Since we're finally caught up, I'm going to go ahead and do reactions on our other channel. But that being said, bro, this shit is insane. Drake really needs to stop this shit, bro. Like, stop. Y'all are agreeing with me that Drake needs to take a break. He just needs to take a break and stop this corny shit, because it's the proof's in the pudding, bro. Look at his number, 250K, and you reach selling 500,000 to 1 million. It's crazy, bro. That means they're not fucking with you right now. It's time to go ghost for a little bit. A lot of rappers do that when they go into beef and they lose. They go ghost for a little bit because they know the repercussions that's about to come with that if they keep dropping. You feel me? Stop it, Drake, stop.
Of the reality we are all seeing, and that's especially crazy. After these same people were calling Kendrick Lamar doing 319,000 first week of flop themselves. Using their logic, this thing is even worse than we could have ever expected. And now with this 250,000, what makes this so bad and really not comparable to what Kendrick Lamar did at all is that, first off, beyond the fact that GNX just did 247,000 the week before this album dropped, which is just showing the longevity that record is having, which of course, while this is boosted by the Super Bowl, for it to rival Drake's first week numbers, it's overall something that no other artist has done, and it is really a sentiment to the quality of that project. And in addition to this, when you understand that GNX is a 12-track album, which meant that it overall gained less streams than albums that are much longer than it, and of course, in this entire era of streaming, rappers and artists like Drake make their albums so much longer intentionally to run up these numbers as much as they can. Kendrick not following this and only worrying about making a record full of great songs and not ever thinking about the numbers and still seeing the success he did really just puts GNX and Kendrick in a league of their own, as the numbers he did with such a small track list is something that no other artist in this era of hip-hop has come close to. And really, it's something that most artists in general would never even consider doing because they do not believe in their own craft enough to have this type of success without bending the rules. And really, just a...
Deadass, a lot of artists don't even think they can make it this high because they don't believe in themselves enough. You feel me? They do not believe in themselves enough to push yourself to make it this far. You feel me? When in all reality, we all have that shit in us to really make it to the top, but we just don't think we can. You feel me? It's just crazy.
Put into perspective how bad all of this really is for Drake in this album, GNX did over 360 million streams with just 12 songs, while Drake's album is looking like it's gonna do around 150 million with 21 songs, which of course adds 9 more streams to each listen through, which then of course gives these platforms more music to put everywhere. And again, just to put things into perspective, if Kendrick's album had this many songs, well, there's no perfect calculation. If you break down how many people had to listen to GNX for it to reach the number of streams that it did, with nearly double the track list size, it could have done around 600 million streams, which would be a record, and that's the real difference of where these two rappers are at. And so with Drake now doing...
You're telling me that this nigga Kendrick got 600 million streams? He's 400 million streams away from 1 billion. That's insane.
Honestly, never mind numbers with an album that is as long as 4
bro.
Dogs.
Drake.
The first week numbers showing almost 50% decrease in people listening to Drake, and there are no excuses around this because the album did get pushed by the industry despite what...
This nigga just said that Drake lost 50% of his fan base. Bro, 50% of your fan base, nigga, and you're still dropping music? Why are you still dropping music? Why hasn't nobody told you to take a break? Nigga, what the fuck are you doing? Holy shit.
What Drake is saying. Because we have all seen it at the front of platforms, but it just did not get listened to as much as Drake records in the past did, which has been made very clear by the fact that GNX is already out streaming it daily and the record just came out. And overall, as Drake's numbers are going down faster than we have ever seen, very similar to what happened earlier this year with Lil Baby and his album When.
Hey, did you know you might get a big
wow, you're competing with Lil Baby now.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Despite bringing in...
Nigga, Lil Baby used to hop on tracks with you to make his streams bigger. Nigga, now you're competing with him. Holy shit.
Lower numbers with this record than he did in the past. His team was still able to prop this thing up and do the work it needed to so that it got a #1 debut, and that so its numbers looked strong when it dropped. But now, as we have seen in the following weeks, and again in this industry, it's hard to fake numbers for this long, and you will always find out the truth at some point. And the music is just not as good, and therefore it has fallen off way quicker than his last albums have as a whole. And with this album from Drake and Party, I am sure when it comes to people actually listening and tapping...
See, I'm trying to tell y'all, Kendrick's making it for all you rappers, just like Lil Baby. That mumble rap, that same rapping, that same type of flow, same type of beat over and over, niggas don't want to hear that no more. We want to hear some new shit. And you better actually rap hard, you feel me, and come at that bitch hard. Or you're gonna fall off. Your album, you might do good for that first month, but after that, nigga, your shit's falling off. You feel me? And the proof's only in the pudding, bro.
Into this record, this is exactly
y'all let me know how y'all feeling about that in the comments.
In every single way possible,
the proof's in the pudding.
Everything for Drake is really showing that after this beef now, from streams to total albums moved, he is about 50% of what he was worth. And now, while if Drake was still doing these numbers and was just okay with where he was at, there would be nothing left to say about this. As Drake is still the guy who thinks he's bigger than the industry and who wants a deal that even Taylor Swift does not have, and that's why he's gotten so deep into the problems he currently is in with his label. I mean, what is clear going forward is that these types of numbers just do not allow you to walk around like you are better than the rest of the industry, because so many rappers now like Kendrick, Eminem, Tyler, Travis Scott, and a lot others are doing better numbers than Drake with ease. And if this is the new standard he is setting, then he is only going to continue to decline down this list. And so overall, what the lesson that Drake is going to have to learn from this is that if he wants to ever have any sort of decent success again, he is going to have to learn that he is not bigger than the industry and that he has to be okay with not being in that top tier of artists anymore in terms of who is moving things forward. But even if Drake doesn't want to realize this, as between the support this record got and the numbers it's doing, which overall is showing that Drake has failed and he's not being blocked and suppressed by the industry, his entire case with his label and what he is trying to prove there never looks worse as well, because Drake's numbers have not fallen off to the point where something looks off in terms of the industry having their hand in it. But it only looks like this record just flopped compared to the usual standards he held himself to, because things have changed and people don't care.
This record flopped because people are tired of Drake. People are tired of his flow, how he's rapping. Tired of him being a sore fucking loser. They're just tired. That's why I'm telling you that this nigga needs to take a fucking break and go ghost for a little bit and then come back. Because if he keeps going on the way he's going, bro's only gonna be able to sell fucking 250K and lower every month, every album drop, every single. This shit's gonna be very sad for Drake, and he's gonna need to be collaborating with all these other artists to get his numbers up. This shit's insane.
Care about his music anymore. And so overall, as we are now at a point where after this beef, Kendrick Lamar has shown that he can make an album that is way more efficient in terms of its track list length, and it's outperforming Drake's record, which is almost double the size. In an industry like this, the more songs you have, the more clearances needed to make music, which then of course means there is a lot more going into what Drake is putting out, which means there is more resources needed. Overall, Kendrick Lamar is showing why he is the best person to lead hip-hop forward, as both an art and in terms of how it will move forward in the industry, because between having the people behind him to just being able to create music that is giving way bigger returns, and that's also using way less, Overall, there's really no need for what a guy like Drake is doing, as it is just inefficient and is bringing the entire industry back to a place where hip-hop is stuck and is only declining. And now, when these numbers come out officially, and they may even end up being a little lower, Drake and everyone around him are going to try to make all the narratives they possibly can to explain why they have seen such a big drop-off between all of the major albums they've put out. Don't let this distract you.
Look at the look in his face in that video. He looks defeated.
Out and made it way longer than it ever had to be, which you can clearly tell based on how many bad and boring songs are on this thing. Which, of course, all of this was done intentionally to give the record the biggest streaming push possible. That even with this, Drake still lost to Kendrick Lamar and so many other MCs and artists, and now with Drake being way down in the industry ladder in terms of what artists are the most valuable with everything going on, as despite the numbers no longer being on his side, his ego has still not changed and he still believes he is the top guy in this thing, all of this is gonna get a lot worse, and it's overall gonna make the disaster that is this album and era of his career have worse effects than we could have ever known. And so now with all this said, let me know, what do you think of the
100%. It's only going to make his career and everything else, his numbers, his money, he's just not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same Drake. This nigga's not going to be used to making this little of money each album drop, each single. He's just not going to be used to it. And that's why he's already being a sore loser, because he sees the money dropping. He sees the numbers, all that shit's dropping. And he's like, oh shit, Kendrick really fucked with my pockets. Yes, nigga. You thought this was gonna be an easy sweep, an easy game, and Kendrick really showed you, nigga, this, you picked the wrong nigga to play with. You feel me? And you're reaping the repercussions, real shit, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Y'all let me know how y'all feeling about this down below in the comments. Don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button if you made it this far into the video, and I'll catch y'all tomorrow at 4 p.m. We go.